Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you hopping on. Super excited for today's webinar and presentation. I think there's a huge opportunity for everybody to take some very actionable items away that can immediately impact their revenue growth. Folks, I'm out there every day talking to sales leaders, business executives, and entrepreneurs about the struggles of trying to grow the revenue. And I have it dialed in pretty well. And so we're going to talk about some things today that anybody can do within a reasonable budget, a reasonable time frame, and truly implement. Doesn't matter if you're a $500,000 a year revenue generating company or multiple billions. So we work with businesses of all scales and sizes. And so we try to build a process that can move and scale with those organizations. So again, today we're going to talk about sales and marketing automation. How do we build the optimal sales machine? And I don't know why I'm so excited, but today's going to be a great day, and we're going to drop some stuff on you here. At any point during this meeting, if you would like to, you guys can book on my calendar using this QR code in the right bottom corner. That's going to go right to my calendar link. Scan that, book a meeting. Let's hop on and talk about what we can do to help your organization. Just a little bit about me for those of you that will watch the recording or that haven't met with me before, but I'm the CEO of Quantum Business Solutions, and I spent 10 years as a sales and business leader, as a CEO, and as a senior vice president of sales in other areas in the technology space. Guys, I've been there with you. Hiring the right people is tough. Training and develop them is tough. How do we have so much inefficiency in sales? That keeps us up at night. Not executing, missing numbers by just a little bit. And then how do we keep up with the technology? And so I really went out and founded Quantum with the idea of helping companies of all shapes and sizes and industries truly modernize their RevGen and being that expert that walks alongside them to ensure that they truly execute it and make it happen. If you'd like to book a meeting with me, right here's the QR code. I'll just leave this up here for a second. Part of the reason I'm hitting on this is if you guys aren't leveraging QR codes in your content and materials that you're putting out, you're missing opportunity to scrape back those meetings. One of our concepts is how do we get the mass outreach and then always create an opportunity that's frictionless and seamless for that potential prospect to book with you, right? So using meeting links in all of your emails, LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn messages, having a QR code like this. So again, if somebody watches this 3 months from now, they can still scan that QR code, book a meeting with me. If you think about a lot of YouTube videos, they wouldn't actually have that potential. So people watch it, think that's great, I need to do that. And then they leave, they never come back to it and you miss out. I want to hit the people at the moment of impact. I'm telling you this because this is something you guys should be thinking about within your organizations as well. All right, so modern RevGen, and what does that machine look like? Well, we've really simplified it to bring it down to earth where everybody can understand and ultimately implement and execute it at a high level that will be successful. So who are we targeting? How are we going to attract them? How do we nurture them through the process once they've shown some consideration and awareness, and then convert and wow. And then we want to be systemizing that, optimizing and automating that. So these are the 5 key pieces. And then on the outside, you're going to see in that circle, that's really what we want to do to those 5 key pieces. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how do we automate these pieces throughout the cycle and map it all out, take a look at every single conversion ratio that there may be, and truly get those little tweaks. Because what we're looking for, guys, is predictable revenue. We want to know if we put $1 in, we're getting $5.62 back out every single time. So how do we do that effectively and efficiently within a budget that we have today to create tomorrow's version of RevGen within the organization? All right, so what are some of the steps to building the sales machine? Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is outlining your entire RevGen process. So from identifying the ideal client profile, identifying the personas within those types of organizations, how do we build the list, enrich the list, and what are sales and marketing doing throughout the rest of that RevGen process that's going to allow them to truly up the revenue quickly, efficiently, and effectively in a systemized, repeatable, and predictable way. Baselining our key performance indicators. We want to understand where we're at right now. Sometimes this is a little shaky. You may not even have all the pieces of information you're going to need, but that's actually okay because that shows you what you need to go figure out. So it's really enlightening for organizations the first time they try to baseline these KPIs. It can take a little bit of time and energy because they start to recognize the lack of data they've been truly leveraging to make decisions within their organization. When you get these KPIs baselined in each area, so our data, marketing, development, sales, and client success KPIs, you're then going to be able to track through that RevGen process, which we'll talk about in a moment, and find where the conversion ratios are slipping or where there's some opportunity. At that point, you can truly isolate 1 to 3 things and say a 90-day period, you're going to improve. How do we get a better show rate to our meetings? How do we get a better open rate to our emails? How do we close more deals? There's so many things happening in marketing and sales, and oftentimes they're not even in alignment. And we become overwhelmed as sales leaders. And so we just start trying to fix everything. We want to identify a few key areas and absolutely dominate those. Once we've identified the KPIs, how do we optimize the process? So think about it as a 4x1 team. It's all in the handing off of the baton to the next area, the next part of the process. And so if you want to think about it in departments, it's data, marketing, the SDR, BDR team, down to sales, down to client success. How are we handing that off as seamlessly as possible and as efficiently as possible? We all know if you watch the Olympics, one little half a misstep in a 4x1 could cost you the gold, right? It could be the difference between winning and ending up in 5th or 6th place. We're now going to identify key conversion ratios to improve. So quick example might be, well, we aren't getting enough connects per dial to actually get the person on the phone. Well, are we calling mobile phones or are we calling office lines? Because there's a difference there, right? So how do we find the mobile phones? Okay, well, now this is where we enter Zoom info, or we get LinkedIn Sales Navigator and then enrich it with a seamless AI. But we know if we call mobile phones, we've got a better chance of getting through. And then maybe it's, well, we're not making enough dials, i.e. enter a connect and sell where you can make 12 to 1,500 dials a day. And guys, don't worry about it. Some of this information is going to be later in the presentation, but just giving some examples of what I mean by key conversion ratios. Automate the pieces of the model that you can. So if it doesn't have to do with emotional intelligence or business acumen, we want to try to automate that piece. The end goal would be, in a perfect world, could we have that sales producer in front of an opportunity 8 to 9 hours a day, every 30 minutes, right on to the next one with the right material, right product, in front of the right prospect at the right time, right solution, content's right. Think about what that would do to the velocity of growing your organization. So again, right opportunity, right time, right information. This is really basic, but this is somewhat what you should have in one way or another for your entire RevGen process. Most organizations have never mapped something like this out, but ultimately, what does that ideal client profile? So we're going to go after medical facilities with 200 employees to 1,000 employees in long-term care in the West Coast, because we have a software we're going to sell. Okay, well, who are the personas? We have a CFO in there, we have a CEO, and we have a director of IT. Okay, how do we get those lists? Well, this is where we go to Zoom or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Zoom Info or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Seamless AI. Build those lists out, get that enriched data with email, mobile phone number, title, have that go into, say, a HubSpot or a Salesforce and update that data, enrich the data. Now, at this point, we can really begin to execute. So what's marketing going to do and what's sales going to do? Are they in alignment? Guys, we speak with organizations, huge organizations every day. Marketing hasn't told sales what their content's going to be for the month, and sales hasn't told marketing which 100 accounts they're going after this year that would be game changers. It really is amazing to me that you can be that far out of alignment, but it happens every single day in organizations. So try to have this in alignment. In a perfect world, your LinkedIn post is going to match your email campaign, is going to match the calling campaign and scripts that you're using. It's going to match the actual offer you want to be making in the marketplace. And you've got your customer success team ready to take care of them and wow that client afterwards. If you don't have something like this, it's going to be a struggle to get all that in alignment. This is very simplified, but when this happens, what happens next? So I call them if-thens, right? And that's what they're called in the workflow. But if the prospect answers the phone, we're going to start with this script. If they don't, we're going to leave this voicemail and they're going to go back into the queue, or they're going to get kicked into this workflow for automated emails. Okay. If they open an email, we're going to call them. If not, we're going to send them another email. If they open that one, we're going to call them. If not, we're going to send them another email. These are the things you need to be thinking about. Again, we don't have a lot of time here today to get in depth, but be thinking about what happens at each trigger point, right? When there's a fork in the road and there's a lot of branches into your process. I bet you've never mapped those out and don't really understand what they are today. So get that down, because when you get that down and you get the KPIs down, it's going to allow you to identify where you can get the greatest lift in results in the quickest fashion. All right. So if anybody has any questions on this, go ahead and throw them in the chat right now. Does anybody have any questions on outlining the RevGen process? Okay, perfect. Does the RevGen process match the buyer's journey? So if you haven't done this, flip yourself into the consumer's shoes. It doesn't matter which product or service you're selling, and think about what you would want to go through as an experience. Well, they're probably going to research somewhere. So do you have content ready to go? Does that content easily explain what you do, who you do it for, and what the benefits and advantages of doing it are? Does it explain the sales process and how that's all going to work, right? And then what is going to happen afterwards? What's the engagement look like? So who are we targeting to bring awareness to either ourselves as an organization, if we're in a mature market, or if you're in something more like quantum, where a lot of times we're the education piece as well, that this stuff exists. But who are we going to target to bring awareness? How are we going to attract to bring that consideration? This is where content really begins to be in play, right? What do you have on your website that would make it easy to understand? A confused buyer is someone that doesn't buy. Remember that. So make it clear. And then when we have some awareness and some consideration going, how do we nurture them to a decision? Okay. And then how do we convert them to making that decision to do business with us? And then how do we wow throughout the rest of the execution of our product or service? So we're going to target to bring awareness, attract to bring consideration, nurture to bring decision, convert to bring conversion, and wow to bring execution. So if you were to lay this right onto the RevGen process that you have today in place or don't have, what does that look like? So the target, if you look back, let's just go back a slide here quick. If we go back one slide, this up here is the targeting. Who are we targeting within that organization? Who are the actual people? We need the data, and we need to know the phone numbers and the emails and where they hang out. Where are they at? What audiences could we play off of? Which stages could we speak on? Again, it doesn't really matter which neighborhoods do they live in, whether you're B2C, B2B, direct, e-commerce, you still need this piece, right? So that is our target piece. Go back over here. We're trying to bring awareness to our offering or services or our organization, okay? If we go back again, this right here is where we begin to start to bring awareness. So whether it's sales bringing awareness through dialing the phone, trying to get the word out there and ultimately book those meetings, because that's when we can start to nurture and truly bring them through with consideration, or marketing, providing that great content and information. Think about yourself as a consumer. Are you going to buy anything that you don't really understand? Probably not today's day and age. We'll record this webinar today. We'll put it out there and we'll let people watch this again and again, because we want people to understand what we do. Some people would say, well, you're putting all your secrets out there. That's okay. The secret sauce is what we bring to the table to help them execute it, right? We're really this execution and education. And as the market keeps changing, there's going to be new things. And so we'll keep increasing and improving our value. Too many people are trying to keep everything a secret, clear down to the price of their product. It's costing them a lot of opportunities. All right, so then we're nurturing them. People don't usually buy on the first meeting. or the first time on your website or the first email that they read. So now as we segment them in segmented marketing approaches, how do we move them through the process and stay enough in touch with them and continue to educate them so that they begin to move into the decision stage? And then how do we convert them and ultimately push them across the finish line to become a customer? And then we have to absolutely wow them with our execution. That's where we get repeat, referral, and cross-sold business. Does anybody have any questions on the buyer's journey? If you do, go ahead and throw them in the chat and I'll answer them now. All right, perfect. Just a couple of recommendations. If you guys haven't read the 2 books that I'm going to bring up here, I'd highly recommend it. It's going to give you a much greater understanding of what an organization like Quantum does, what's truly possible out in the world of modern sales and marketing. So Quantum Marketing would be the first one. So just mastering the new marketing mindset for tomorrow's consumers, leveraging artificial intelligence. What other types of things are out there that are going to help us be able to get in front of the right consumer at the right time? Guys, there's never been a better time to be in marketing than today. And I truly believe that. And here's why. We can use so much intelligence to put ourselves in front of the exact right customer at the exact right time, whether it's Zoom info, whether it's intent data, the audiences that we can break down on paid advertising, the social media capabilities that we have, the search capabilities that we have within a LinkedIn Sales Navigator or a Seamless AI or a Zoom info. Our ability to target and be in front of our clients today is on parallel in the history of all business. So if you, I mean, my personal opinion is that one really, really strong marketing person could be as valuable as 10 salespeople because of what they can do to put those salespeople in front of the right opportunities at the right time, right content, right message, right product and service. Second book I'd really, really recommend, and I actually had Justin Michael consult me, is Tech Powered Sales. So how do we cut out all that white space, building this, repetitive tasks like note taking, sending the same email over and over and over again, trying to figure out who we're going to call that day. All these things slow down your salespeople. They create confusion and ultimately hold them back from being able to go to the next level. If you haven't read this book, this is an absolute must read for any business or sales leader in today's marketplace. So Tony Hughes says the future of B2B selling is when buyer sentiment meets seller relevance with human engagement, empowered by technology that melts away as humans focus on high value interactions. If we're going to be honest, a lot of the interactions that we try to have with prospects and clients aren't high value. As executives become busier and busier, especially in B2B, and even your consumers, there's so much coming at them. They're not looking for just another friend. They'd love to be your friend after you build the relationship, after you're bringing value, but they don't just need another friend. You want to be in front of people with business acumen and emotional intelligence. That's what sets you apart, right? Let technology do a lot of the work of getting you in front of those people. Doesn't mean you're not making calls, but who are we calling? When are we calling? Why are we calling? Are we calling someone that's picked up before? Are we calling a mobile number? Are we calling them during a certain time of day? Be thinking about all the intelligence that's out there to help you be really pinpointed in exactly your go-to-market strategy. Most people don't realize 70% of what sellers do today can be automated. List building, note taking, email sending, messaging on LinkedIn, posting on social media. We could go on and on. We'd be here for the rest of the hour, but 70% of what sellers do today can be automated. So keep that in mind. That's a stat to remember. Reps are spending about 300% more time on deals that will never close versus deals that will. What can we do in pipeline automation to continue to nurture without our reps having to do everything in the sales process and take all their time and energy away? So same gap between ideal customers and non-ideal customers. What are some of the terms that you're going to hear in sales and marketing automation? Sequences. Okay, so here's what a sequence is. Sequence is one-to-one, and if it's an email, it's one-to-one that's triggered by the salesperson. Can have 5 steps, we'll say in HubSpot, where we've got emails built, tasks built, going into certain types of queues. As soon as we get done visiting with a person, or if we want to do a group of people based on a segmentation, we can manually put them into a sequence, which is an automated 5-step process. So it could be email 1 on the product we want to cross-sell, email 2, then it could be a task to do a phone call, then it could be an in-mail through LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and then it could be an email again. And in each of those, what's our content going to be? What is the point of the message? Is it to book a meeting? Is it to move somebody to the next stage of the cycle? But that's what a sequence is. Triggers. Okay, so there are literally thousands of triggers. And don't get overwhelmed by this. It's super simple, but a trigger is what creates an automated workflow to kick off. Is it that somebody became a member of a list based on some sort of criteria? Is it that somebody opened an email? Is it that a call outcome can trigger? And we'll get into this in a little bit, but there's so many things that can set off automation. This is where it starts to get fun. So think about all of the manual things you do, and we can really back that in and say, how could we trigger automation around that? Audiences. So how do we build ad audiences? When we're going out and doing paid ads today, a lot of times we're just picking basic criteria out of Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. What you can actually do is you could take your own database, and if you have marketing contacts in HubSpot, based on certain segmentation or criteria, you can have those paid ads go to those exact contacts. So again, back to the velocity. It's not one thing, it's all these little things stacked up together can create massive, massive wins in the marketplace when you're out building the modern RevGen cycle. Okay, so that's audiences. Voicemail drops is really one of two things, but if you were using like a connect and sell, it's every time they get a voicemail, they're just dropping it. So they're going on to the next call. They're not spending the 30 seconds leaving the voicemail. Or on a massive scale, if you use something like a Sly broadcast, you could actually drop a voicemail on thousands of people at once. So you record it, you upload the mobile phone numbers, and you drop it. And now all of these people just got a voicemail. What happens is they end up calling you back, or at least you get that branding and that messaging out there. But that's a great way to get inbound. So if you had 2,000 people that you wanted to know about an event, or you had 2,000 people that you wanted to know about a special you have going on, or you were just trying to book meetings for a product, could absolutely drop those voicemails and you'll get a lot of texts and calls back. So be careful. If you drop too many, you'll end up being too busy and you won't be able to handle everything that's coming your way. All right, QR codes. Just an awesome way to take advantage of something where anybody before would have been like, well, that's really cool. So whether it's a brochure, a business card, sticker on the front of a copier if you're in B2B, if it is, if it has to do with this webinar, really anywhere, it could be on a vehicle, anywhere where before it would have just been branding or there would have been a message that people couldn't have taken action. A QR code allows something that isn't technically digital to be able to have action taken on it, okay? Really leverage those. Landing pages, the way you can set up a sales page and the psychology behind it can help automate sales coming in. Calendar links, I can't emphasize this enough. If you're trying to do appointment setting and you aren't leveraging calendar links at every turn, you're missing a huge opportunity, because that little bit of back and forth, back to the conversion ratios, but that little bit of back and forth, that can actually lower your conversion rates, right? So let's say we get 10 people to agree to take a meeting, but then we go back and forth and say, does next Tuesday work, next Thursday? Well, there's a certain number out of the 10 they're going to drop just because of that. So if we drop 1 out of 10, now we only got 9. If we were getting 70% to show up, now we're at, we're going to be at 6.3. Yep. We're going to be at 6.3 versus if we would have kept it at the 7 and then we send 2 reminders. So that makes 75% versus 70 show up. Now we're at 7.5 meetings out of 10 that showed versus 6.3 on that same 10. Well, you start to do that over thousands and thousands. That's a huge impact, because then if we know every time we have a meeting, 40% of the time, we're able to turn that into an opportunity. Well, if you put that over thousands and you're missing out on 20% here, you're truly missing out on 8% overall. It could be a huge part of an organization's growth. And that's just in 2 little conversion rates. So this is what Quantum helps people do. Templates. Do you have reps sending the same things over and over and over again? can we set up a template and have a workflow do it, or build a sequence, or at a minimum, let's at least have the template in there, and right from Outlook or within their CRM, they can just shoot that template off. You as an organization control the messaging behind the template, and it gives a lot better chance it's going to happen. So if you're one of the organizations that whenever they call and they leave a voicemail, they're also supposed to email or text, this gives you a better chance to ensure that's going to happen. All right, active lists. These are beautiful. So an active list is, let's start with a static list. A static list, I take these 100 people and I upload them into my CRM. An active list says anyone that meets these criteria. So someone that's visited our website page twice, opened one marketing email, and is a tier 1 prospect with the last name Johnson, those are all going to go into this active list. Anytime someone meets that criteria or doesn't meet it, they're coming on and off dynamically. So where this would come into play is I want to know people that visited a page of the website and they're this type of prospect, plus they have opened 2 marketing emails in the last 30 days. So we believe that's a behavior that we want to put them right into a call queue. So we could build the active list that's sitting there, but we could also set up automation that says anytime they go into that list, you're going to put them into a call queue, go right over to connect and sell. And now your guy's just sitting there waiting. And all of a sudden he's talking to 8 of these people an hour, and it's the right people that are showing the right behaviors. They're the right type of criteria and marketing segmentation. All right, predictive dialers. So putting out 5 to 6 dials at a time, VA sitting in between. And what's happening is you're on a conference line, you're just waiting. So now instead of having a conversation with a decision maker every hour and a half, you're having 6 to 8 conversations per hour. And you know it's the right person. So you got the right person, you're having 10 times as many conversations. They've been showing the behaviors. You kind of start to see how this builds up to create this massive growth and ultimately the quantum leap. All right, artificial intelligence is just us obviously programming computers and software and things to do what we wish a human could do every single time, but we're going to automate it and we're going to use intelligence to go out and make things happen. Snippets, so what are those things we're typing over and over and over again? How do we just upload those into our CRM, put a hashtag, we're awesome, and then that 2-paragraph comes up about us being awesome, and boom, there you go. All right, call queues. Part of what will slow down a rep is if they're calling on this and then they're calling on this, they don't really know, they got to look at notes. If you build call queues and you set automation to put things based on criteria right into the right call queues, they can go really fast because they know exactly what they're calling about. The other thing that can happen is these queues can be right within, say, something like HUSA, or we can put them in connect and sell. But if we're going to do that, we want it to all be based on the same message so they can use the same script and go really fast without having to look at every single account and go check the notes and go figure this out. That's slowing you guys down drastically today. Call outcomes, you can customize call outcomes. We all know this, but the key here is you can build automation around call outcomes. So that can be one of those triggers, which you can basically say, if I call them about sales training and I leave a voicemail, I'm going to select that call outcome. That's going to send these 10 emails and put them into this ad audience. And we're going to do this, this, and this. If I put a different call outcome, these other things are going to happen all automatically. You can build it and we can perfect that for you exactly the way you'd like to have it happen. Meeting types, same thing. And then what is a cadence? That's just, really that's, I'm going to do 2 emails, I'm going to do a call, I'm going to do them in this order. So what's the sequence or the cadence that we're going to do automation? Does anybody have any questions on sales and marketing automation terms? All right, cool. Okay, so tips and tricks, guys. Here's some things. This is where we're getting right into the meat and potatoes. I'm basically handing you sales dollars with the stuff that we're going to cover here in the next couple of slides. But active lists, you should always have an active list of who's looking at your website and what pages they're looking at. And you can even set up alerts that if anyone who's not a client of a type of service, because they could be a current client over here, but they're not of this yet, and they visit that page more than once, for instance, you want to know that. If they're opening up emails, you want to know that. So let's say we're selling IT services and we're also selling security services. And these 1,000 IT customers don't have security. And we start sending emails and these people are engaging at different levels and they're fit in our ICP and they start visiting our website, so they've opened an email and visited the website, we want a list of those and we want to call them because those are people that are showing behavior. The concept here is that in a lot of cases, they're not going to go as far as to say, contact me, I want to be sold something, but they're showing these behaviors. So we want to go into the funnel, rip them out and go outbound on them. So we're going inbound, 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 outbound, outbound. Okay. And then it perpetuates itself. What's happening in outbounds, feeding more data back over here to marketing. That is then feeding inbound data back over to sales, back over to marketing, back over to sales. Huge. Smart links on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I mean, this is one of the coolest things on LinkedIn right now, but you can basically upload a link or you can upload content like a PDF, for instance, into LinkedIn Sales Navigator and then use that in your direct messages or on your posts. And you can know who looked at the document or the link, what they looked at and how long they looked at it. So you send them a 10-page document, in that case on security services. And on page 3, it talks about cybersecurity, even though I'd be more IT, but cybersecurity. And they spend 7 minutes on that. And they've come back to that 3 times. I'm going to call them. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know they're interested in cybersecurity. So that's the value of smart links. The other thing is if you're sending out, say 100 direct messages on LinkedIn and you want to know who's opening this stuff, because you usually don't know that, right? You want to know who's opening this stuff. Now you know. And so if you team this up with like Connected, where you could do 300 automated outreaches per day and have this in there, you're going to know out of the 300 you sent today, here's the 42 that opened it. And here's the 6 that looked at it for more than 5 minutes. Well, those are the 6 I'm calling tomorrow. You guys see the value in that? All right. Vidyard video, same type of thing. It actually has a little plugin right into LinkedIn, or you can plug it into HubSpot or just use it natively. But point is you can make these customized videos, or like in this case, we could upload this into that and we could know everyone that's looking at the video and how long they looked at the video. Very powerful intelligence and insight when it comes to prospecting. Again, these are things you guys would never have known. And we go back to what can be automated that a salesperson does today. Prospecting, that top of funnel, so many opportunities. All right, you guys liking this? I mean, if you're liking this, just put down in the chat that this is good stuff. I definitely want to hit points that are important to you guys. So feel free to comment. Digideck presentation. So this is a partner of ours. It's a technology where basically there's a master deck instead of using PowerPoint. And what happens is you put a couple things that it customizes the deck quickly. With that brand, you can chat to the people when they open it, because you know you can video into the people when they open it, because you know when they're looking at it, what they're looking at, how many times they're opening it. So if you were sending out presentations or you put this on your website, this is some awesome insight into what's gonna really excite a prospect. Because again, if we're gonna call them, let's call them on the thing that they're showing the most interest in. Let's tell people that are closest to the sun. All right. People that are showing a certain, and this is where campaigns could come in, but a certain propensity to do email opens on certain types of subjects or contents or things in a campaign. Let's route that over to a task queue. Let's call the people that have the best chance of knowing who we are. Some of you guys on this call are really well-known organizations, but like Quantum, you know, people don't always know who we are because we're a newer organization in a field that not everyone understands at this point. Well, we need to know who already has the best chance. So if someone's opened up 8 emails and our SDR calls, he's going to have a better chance of getting the meeting because they actually are going to know who we are when he says Quantum Business versus calling just completely cold. So let's give ourselves the best chance to win. It's not a competition to see who can overcome the hardest and most challenging odds to book a meeting. All right, guys? Connected. You know, I'm going to talk about that for a second. I always remind people, it's not a competition to see who can overcome the most challenging cold calls. The idea is to grow your revenue. So I'll have businesses, they got 5,000 customers over here and they cross-sell. They got 1,000 of the 5,000 cross-sold. Then they want to go hire an SDR and they want to go call these 10,000 other businesses. And it's like, why don't we start with the 4,900? And they'll say, well, everyone already knows us in that. Right, but 4,900 of them haven't bought this other thing that has a 5 to 10 times higher monthly recurring revenue value of the product you have sold them, and they already know. So why don't you just use them to create efficiency there? And you kind of see the light go off, people get excited, but it's not a competition to have the most challenging calls. Okay, I'll sit in. It is not a competition of the most challenging calls. You want to grow your revenue. All right, connect and sell. You can have different things happening in HubSpot. automatically feed over to Connect and Sell, and then call dispositions happening to Connect and Sell can feed right back to HubSpot. Now it's feeding back and forth, and automation's happening both ways, right? So you're not touching anything until all of a sudden one day you're talking. Now you're booking a meeting and you have a chance to sell your product or service. ClickFunnels and landing pages, we kind of talked about that. Using payment links. So make it seamless and easy to do business with you. When we're in a world where you can go right on to Amazon, one click, it's on your doorstep in 24 hours. People don't have a lot of tolerance for inefficient buying cycles and processes, okay? Use alerts on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can search by things like technologies used. So for us, we want to know every organization in the United States that's using HubSpot. We now have that list. We want to get alerts when things happen there, right? Or if a champion in an account moves. This helps you be able to call people or know who to message, because one of the people who was a huge champion of yours at one of your clients has now left. Well, let's reach out to them and take advantage of that. Or somebody gets added and it'll automatically add to lists or types of search you've done. Somebody gets added to that that's now using HubSpot. Well, let's go call and see if they need consulting services on taking full advantage of their new investment. Intent data on Zoom info, same type of thing. Are they showing certain behavioral patterns that makes us believe they maybe want to do business with maybe not us, but somebody in our industry? Now we go out and we try to pull that in and create an opportunity there. All right, automation around form submission. So form comes in, let's build some automation around that and make sure that we begin to nurture, especially. Also using forms with your current customers in something like a quarterly business review or different things that might be happening in your organization where you'd be getting forms today, because then all that data can go into structured fields. That's going to help those dynamic lists be updated more often and keep you on top of your marketing segmentation. Right, pipeline automation. So those things that you want to be happening at each step of the process, even after they've signed and are becoming a client, there's opportunities to actually automate. So as soon as they move to meeting set, we want to send them this, we want to send an internal message, we want to do this, we want to do this. All that can be automated within a HubSpot, for instance. Each step of the process, what's that look like? What do you wish was happening? Let's just go ahead and automate it. Automated LinkedIn requests, direct messages, or in-mails with Connected. Huge way to go out, drop your calendar link in there, put some good content, drop a document in so you're doing inbound, but then maybe there's some interest in it, right? And drop your meeting link in there and let them book with you. You could do the same thing for recruiting. So if you identify 200 people that meet a bunch of criteria that you'd look for in a salesperson or an ops manager, let's load that list in and let's go out and let them book their own 15-minute initial interview with us. So people that are struggling with recruiting, huge opportunity right there. Automated list building, we just talked about that a moment ago, so we'll leave that. We've kind of talked about the voicemail drops. SMS automation through workflows and triggering, we can have that happen. Local presence dialing. So for us, we're going worldwide. We have clients in 6 different countries. We want to look like we're calling from that area code because we have a better chance of them picking up the phone, okay? And then an email bump. So you're sending emails sometimes or messages. One of the best things you can do is send something about 2 days later, have it automated and say, hey, what did you think of that message the other day? And then they're like, oh, and it's human nature. They go, oh, sorry, I've been busy. And they'll actually reply more often to the email bump than they did the initial message. So keep that in mind. Any questions on sales and marketing automation tips and tricks that I can answer for anybody? All right, we'll continue on. I thought I had one other slide in here, but just a little bit here on the targeting piece, because that's such a key piece, is I would say some of the automation that's going to help you guys grow the quickest is obviously getting the prospects in. So when you guys speak with me most of the time, you say, hey, if we can get in front of people, we're able to sell them, we're able to get them interested. Our hardest part right now is finding the leads, having the meetings. So you'll talk to a B2B company and their people are having 2 real client meetings a week. Well, we all know that's not enough to get us where we want to go, and we're leaving a lot on the table. So I want to just hit a little bit on the target piece here, but We talked about the ideal client profile, the buyer persona. Here's the types of things that we want to figure out and that we can get enriched, right? Something like never bounce is important because we want to verify these enriched emails so that we keep our email health up, try to stay out of the spam. That can be a struggle when you're a new business. We know that, but that's a tip and trick right there. Most of this can be integrated directly in with HubSpot. So if you guys aren't enriching your data today, you're really missing out on an opportunity. You can even have instant enrich with HubSpot if it's Zoom info, which is going to allow it to be happening automatically. The never bounce, make sure that you're sending to valid email addresses. You'd be amazed at how many clients we go in. They think they have 6,000 email addresses. We run it up against never bounce. They have 3,000. Okay. So they're crushing themselves every time they send to those 3,000 that aren't valid. Segmentation, this piece right here, but being able to tailor the content, even if it's just one paragraph at the top and the rest of the message is the same, tailoring the content and the personalization to that prospect is going to vastly increase the results and the buy-in that you're going to get with that. Okay. Connect and sell is huge. So I'm going to just kind of open this up here. And I want to just do a little Q&A with everybody. So I'll put the slideshow away, leave about 10 minutes here. What questions do you guys have? And I'll let you guys speak here that you'd like me to answer today. 1 second here. I'm going to allow people to talk. All right. I've got everyone who's allowed to talk now. So Brian or Jim, Mark, Paul, Tom, anybody else? Do you guys have any questions there? I see Garrett, you're unmuted there. You have a question, bud?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the different aspects to what you're saying on the combination to reach out and get these people. What's the most effective way to start?
To me, the best thing that you can do to start is getting the help building the list, because where we usually get stuck, if you think about a salesperson, is even each morning, who am I going to call today? What am I supposed to be doing? Right. And then we become all inefficient. So getting that enriched data to me is a key part after we've obviously identified who we want to go after, but getting that data, because as soon as we have the data, we have the message, we can go really fast then, because we know what we're doing, what we're selling, who we're calling, what we're saying. And now we just go, right? So the efficiency there. So I would start with data, but you need a place to put the data. That's where the HubSpot comes into play. If you just want some low hanging fruit, obviously LinkedIn already has a lot of data. So you could leverage like a connected and do the outreach there. It's $89 a month. You can send up to 300 automated messages per day, add up to 100 connections a week, and do 300 in-mails per month. So it's about 10,000 touches you can do automated for $89 a month. Does that answer the question, Garrett?
Absolutely. Perfect.
Cool. Tom, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, question. You mentioned Zoom info a couple times. Do you have any experience with Apollo IO in your opinion of the quality of the service?
You know, I've had clients that have taken a look at it. Most of our clients are on Zoom info. We use primarily LinkedIn Sales Navigator, Seamless AI, just because our size. But I haven't heard anything bad about Apollo.io. I think that it would definitely get it done. Is it a budget thing, or what has you looking at that one primarily?
Yeah, compared to Zoom info, it's comparable in theory, but cheaper. So got to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I look at most of this stuff, and I know we all have a budget, depends on, but if you can afford it, I always say just get the Cadillac right out of the gate, or get the Ferrari right out of the gate, because the efficiency you can pick up when you do this right is so phenomenal that extra $10,000 or $20,000 a year in software can be picked up very quickly, no matter what you're selling, versus trying to cut corners. And then when you think about all the lost sales, because the most expensive business expense is missed opportunity, right? Everybody thinks it's payroll or taxes or facilities, but it's all the people we don't get in front of that could use our product.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? I mean, I think this is a great time to do some spitballing and kind of go back and forth. I see Jim on here, Paul. Let's see, we got Mason, Mark. You guys have any questions? All right, guys. And then if you didn't yet, I'm going to go ahead and put my meeting link down in the chat here. That way you've got another opportunity to book a meeting with us. And we'd love to chat with you. We'll also be sending this recording out to everybody that we have email addresses and phone numbers for. So hopefully you look forward to seeing that. Appreciate everybody hopping on today. Thank you so much, and have a great day.